Welcome back on the Rice Unfiltered podcast. I am voice of your Rice House, JP Heath here. We did it from Knoxville last week, and now we do it from here in near Fort Myers, Florida. We got some Rice House football talk. I'm on the road with Rice House Hoops. Thanks again, Coach, accommodating. That's a miracle, this technology. We can do that. How are things in this unique week, I guess, with the holiday, but also
Yeah,
just a massively important football game on the horizon? How are you doing?
I'm good. Here we are. It's hard to believe. I got a message. I don't even think about it, but my daughter messaged me this morning saying, "Hey, happy 1 year anniversary." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" She goes, "It was on my timeline 1 year ago today. You're announced as head coach at Rice," and I said, "Wow, yeah, time flies, right?" And this season has flown by, right? And I'm really proud of I think the steps we've taken as a program, and just now we got a huge opportunity in front of us and a huge challenge. And here we are. It's a great opportunity to measure ourselves. You know, we're ending the season going against the top tier of our league, right? So, what better way to help you understand what's the next step of growth as you head into a possible bowl game or a possible off season? And so I love what we're facing here. I love this challenge, and it is that it's a real challenge. But uh, I know this, right? You play the game for a reason, and I said this in the press conference that we're at this point we're not intimidated by anybody. I mean, we've played the toughest schedule in our league. That's everyone knows that. We've gone toe to toe and been good in some of those games, and some of those games we haven't been. And what I'm looking for is, can we put a complete game together from start to finish in every phase? And I think if we can do that, man, we can surprise some people on Saturday.
What was the big turning point against North Texas when you had the great start? You've been preaching the great starts all season. It could have been your best start, considering the opponent. And then was the turning point also when the fourth down, you didn't convert, but then they convert as they're driving. Did you see that, the big swing in the game? And what was the key to the big start?
Well, I did. I think a couple of things there. You know, we score in the first possession, take the ball, used up half the quarter, right? We score with 8:40 left in the first quarter. Could not have gone. It was as scripted, right? It was a thing of beauty for us. And then we get 3 and out, and then we take our next drive and we score with a minute 12 to go in the quarter. So with you know in the first 11 minutes of the game, we put two drives together. We're up 14-0. They've run three offensive plays. That's really what we wanted. And then we give up the big home run play on the first or second play of their second possession, and then we go get a drive together and get stopped on fourth down. The combination of those momentum shots really swung the momentum, and that is an area I really want to see us grow in. Is how do we handle those swings? Right now, I don't think we handle them very well. Like when things are good, man, we're flying high and we're rallying and we're playing as good at football as anybody. But when things go south, we don't put the brakes on quick enough. And I talked about that a little bit in the press conference. Probably didn't elaborate as I am now, but that's what That's what happened. They got momentum and it fueled their fire, and at the same time, we threw water on our own fire. And so I think it had a lot more to do with us than them. And I think when you're a program that's trying to get over that hump, right? Now you've proven you can be a good football team. You've proven that, hey, this team achieved more than last year's team, but there's still that hump to get over to beating one of the top tier teams in our league. I think you got to play with more confidence consistently. Your confidence cannot waver on what's going on in the moment. It can't waver because everything looked good or everything went well or everything went poorly. You have to sustain your confidence throughout, and that's what we got to work on.
The combo ground game question. Aaron Turner leads you in rushing, I guess, also receiving too. But then you had DeAndre Hardiman, the true freshman, goes for a season and career high 66. What'd you like about those two guys?
Well, Aaron Turner, what a fantastic Saturday. And we did a few things differently to really involve him. The most important thing we did, we got in a different personnel group that really kind of highlighted one slot, not two on the field, right? And so a little more traditional 12 package, and utilizing our tight ends a couple different ways. And one of those being James Falk. And I think James opened up some really nice gaps for both, our option game and when we did some things on our fly sweep with Aaron Turner. And so I think Aaron was prepared to take advantage of that and did just that. The opportunity, arose and he took advantage of that. And man, it was a big boost for us, and that's great for him as he really completes a really nice career and he finishes it with us here. I love that he's playing his best football here at the end.
Yeah, speaking of, hopefully there's some more action after Saturday. Like I think we've echoed in a couple other
Yeah.
podcasts. It's right out there. One win from bowl eligibility. What's it mean that it's sitting right out there for you? I heard Q Jack on the presser and Tony Anianwu, nice enough to join. He talked about it too. But it's right there in your first year. It seems to me so huge that this is a possibility. What are you and the staff's thoughts?
Well, we're really focused on Saturday, right? I didn't really talk much about it because I think we need all our focus. But with that said, since you asked me the question, I'm this is what I want. I want our program playing meaningful games late in November. And meaningful games right now means for us trying to get bowl eligible. And that's where we are. We're playing a really important game for our program. And you got to feel good about that. I don't think the expectations I had expectations as to where we'd be. I said in an early season press conference in August, I'd be disappointed if we weren't, competing for a bowl game late in November. I may have worded just like that. And here we are, we're doing that. And, all the ups and downs of the year that we need to take all those life lessons, apply what we've learned to give ourselves an opportunity Saturday.
Nice, smooth transition into talking about South Florida, but kind of a combo segue with just playing a high tempo team in North
Yeah.
Texas, and their spread is different, of course. That we'll get into some of that in a second. But from me, the layman, as I watch and call games, it seems like it would benefit you to have fast spread team and going against another one that's a pretty rapid pace. How big is it that you've had that muscle memory with the guys going against another speedy team?
Well, I think it's really important if we learn our life lessons from Saturday, right? There are some things we weren't prepared for, and we need to be better prepared for that. And so we will be. We've now seen it, and had the opportunity to see what we're capable of doing, what we're not, and I think that's big in a football program, and really important at Rice is that you really have to realize what you're capable of doing, whether it's offensively, defensively, or special teams. And then you got to build on that, right? You can't just, go out there and say, okay, hey, we can do this because somebody else did it, right? That may not work for us. And in most cases, it won't. And so I think it's important to learn from what we did well last week and what we couldn't execute. And I do believe playing a high tempo team should pay us some dividends come Saturday.
So going back before last season, I had a chance to do one of these streams with Coach Golish before he even started. And his story is fascinating, which we won't break down here, but folks can look and read at the stories and watch the videos. But just what's his offensive approach? Is it unique? He was the OC under Coach Heupel, and just it seems how he spreads everything out. It's, again, different than North Texas. Just how is his version of it a little different than the way anybody else? Because to me, it seems a unique, different animal.
Oh, it's a much different animal. And it's one I can resonate more with, right? He wants a dual threat quarterback, and he has no problem running the football. He wants to run the football. Okay. And they have the ability to do that. Now he does it completely out of a spread set, right? He keeps you spread and he's going to keep you on your toes with some quick passing game, right? He's not going to ask too much of what they're doing on that in that phase of the game. He's going to, put his guys in space, get on the football, and then he's going to run some read zone. He's going to run some Q power at you, some Q read at you, and they do a phenomenal job, right? And I love his story. I love all the unique stories of the coaching past because I have one, and so I have so much respect for him. Right, I'm just ready for somebody else to name him as the head coach somewhere else. Right, I'm ready. I'm ready for somebody to say, "Hey, he's our new head coach," and maybe we could get that distraction going. But I'm sure he's being talked about. Everybody's heard it, right? So I'm not spilling the beans out there, and deservedly so, right? He's done just a marvelous job at South Florida, and I know probably South Florida's doing everything they can to keep him. It's a great story. And what he does offensively, I resonate with, to be honest. I have a lot of respect for it.
Their offense gets the focus, rightfully so. But what are some things you've seen on their defense? What sticks out from their D?
Yeah, I think they have really good size. They're really physical, and they run through the football. And I don't think it's much different from their defense, right? From their offense, excuse me. It's not overly complicated, right? When you watch them, okay, yeah, they're coached really well. They don't get overly complicated and let their guys play. And that shows up on defense as well. And that's really what the offense system does. They play fast, keep it simple, right? And let their guys play. And I got to admit, I love the style of football on both sides. I think, it fits them very well. And I think that's what's important is that he has a system that really fits who they are. So we got our challenges in all phases, but the score is not indicative. I think we're playing some of our best football all year. And now we just got to fix a few things from Saturday, learn from how that game got away from us so quick, right? If it doesn't get away from us so quick and it's 21-14 or 21-17 and a half, it's a different game because, offensively, I think we continue to move the football in the second half and we found a way to slow it down a little bit, just not enough, right? So we got to learn from some of that, just make some adjustments. And then we have to play with great effort and passion Saturday. There's no way around that, right? And I say this all the time that, they got one of the best players in the country, right? But, and he's going to have some great games, right? But and they're a top 30 program, which we're not right now. But on one Saturday, right, it could be Rice's day, right? If we line up and play this South Florida team 10 times, I don't know how many Saturdays we get, but I know one of those can be our Saturday. And so we got to prepare like, hey, we're going to be at our best. We're ready for this challenge. And then Saturday's coming and they're going to get our best. And if that happens, then man, watch out. Let's go to work.
Lastly, Coach, we know you're pressed for time, so grateful and thankful for everything for you this season. But let's talk some Abell Thanksgiving grub and family traditions. I know it's obviously always most of the time during football season. Can you rank the Thanksgiving sides? Any kind of quirky Abell dishes?
Well, I think the quirky thing is I'd just soon have pizza than I would Thanksgiving meal. I'm just being honest. I know.
Really?
It's just who I am.
Okay.
I'm not a big turkey guy, but with that said, as I've aged and I've gotten wiser, I do appreciate really the home cooked style meal of more the ham, the mashed potatoes, the mac and cheese. And then if I'm really going to label them, the dessert's the favorite part of the Thanksgiving meal for me. Okay. Always has been. So I look forward to seeing what, my mom would have had for dessert when I started with my grandmother. And we always had Thanksgiving at my house, right? We spent other holidays at my grandparents growing up, but Thanksgiving was always at our house. And then as I got married and had my own family, it really came about football. And so we had Thanksgiving at our house. We didn't travel, and I was playing or preparing for a playoff game or just finishing a season in some cases and cleaning up. And so we could never commit to anyone else. Like, hey, we'll host you if you want to come here. And so, some of the times Thanksgiving's a very intimate time for just my immediate family because we're not in the areas anymore where we grew up, and it becomes a football holiday for me. Like what I'm grateful for is the opportunity that this wonderful sport and now Rice University has given me the opportunity to be a part of Thanksgiving here. Right. So we'll have Thanksgiving with our players, and, I'm so grateful for that. And that my family grew up that way. Right. My kids grew up thinking if we weren't playing football Thanksgiving, something was wrong. And I'm not talking football outside in the backyard. I'm talking, football on either Friday night or Saturday afternoon. And then as my son grew up and played, his teams were playing in Thanksgiving, and then his college teams were playing in the playoffs at FCS level at Richmond, and a lot more football and work going on Thanksgiving than your traditional Thanksgiving. And we love that, right? My wife will wake up and she'll cook a meal for whoever's coming over. And some years it's coaches, some years it's family, some years there's some players involved. And I will spend Thanksgiving morning with the team, and we'll have Thanksgiving lunch with the team. And then I'll land back at my house 4 or 5 o'clock after the work day's over, and I'll watch a little football and get ready for our travel day, and let's go after South Florida.
Hey, Coach, thankful for you. I know recruiting
Thanks, JP.
is so big next week, but want to squeeze in a season finale sometime around your schedule, and hopefully a bowl preview, of course, but just so thankful, and let's get that win, okay?
Thank you. I appreciate it. And a loud shout out to all our Owl faithful. I'm thankful for you guys for tuning into our podcast, and to JP and our crew who put this podcast on each and every week. And this is not over. I look forward to having a bowl podcast getting ready, right? And I'm excited for that. And I know JP's on the road right now with our basketball team. So shout out to the Owls basketball. Let's get a dub tonight, and go Owls.
Yes, sir. Rice Fight. That does it for another edition of the Rice Unfiltered podcast. That's Dunleavy Family Head football coach Scott Abell. We'll be back coming up next week to talk some more Owls. This has been the Rice Unfiltered podcast.